Some breaking news for you. Firefighters are still on the scene of an afternoon fire in Dothan. The blaze broke out at Westgate Village Apartments on Westgate Parkway. Now, we are told one building housing 4 apartments is completely destroyed.
4 families have been displaced after a fire ripped through 4 Westgate Village apartments this afternoon. Dothan Battalion Chief Chris Etheridge joins me now, and he's been on the scene all afternoon. Tell me, Chief, what was it like when you first arrived?
Our first responding units actually reported heavy smoke from a couple of miles away. We had significant fire showing from the 2nd floor upon our arrival from the overhead as well as from the windows.
Gotcha. And can you kind of describe what's the extent of the damage so far?
The initial indications are that 2 of the apartments are going to have significant fire damage. The other 2 apartments on the opposite side of the firewall, which protected them, will have water and smoke damage to those apartments. So hopefully we can get a structural engineer in to check this building, make sure that it's safe for occupancy, and we can get them back in it pretty soon.
Right. And now you mentioned to me earlier that your work is not done, even though it looks like the fire is out right now. Can you tell me what's next for your crews?
Right now, we're extinguishing hot spots, seeking out those, trying to protect the occupants' belongings to the best of our ability, and then our investigators will get inside and determine exactly where and how the fire started.
Great. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon. And Reg, Tessa, we found out that there haven't been any injuries, luckily, and that's to civilians or to firefighters. Those are all the details we have for now, but as soon as we get more, we'll be sure to let you know.
We are learning more about yesterday's fire on Dothan's west side.
It destroyed an entire apartment building, and NewsWorld's Matthew McCullum joins us live from Westgate Village Apartments with the latest in the investigation. Matthew?
Reg, Tessa, I'm in front of Building P at Westgate Village Apartments where there's significant structural damage. Moving this way, I want to show you, this is a melted piece of the paneling from the eave of the apartment, completely damaged here. Looking at this window and this door, they're boarded up to protect them from any further structural damage from the elements. Look at the rear of this car, completely melted. The tag is charred. You can barely even see the numbers on this license plate. But that's not even the worst part. Looking over here, this is the door to the building, or used to be the door to the building. But the worst part of the damage is really in the rear back here. Now, authorities are saying this was all caused by an overloaded outlet. Looking this way, you see debris back here, and then you can see straight through the roof. You can see straight through this wall, insulation hanging out. There's a busted window from the pressure caused by the heat from this fire. So really bad damage. You can see why it's a total loss, but there is a silver lining here. You see these children playing behind me. They're still in good spirits, and it has not broken their spirit at all. Now, they are accepting donations for these 4 families that were affected. You can stop by 2233 Westgate Parkway to make a donation. American Red Cross is helping, but they need money for clothes and school uniforms. So you can help just by stopping there. Again, 2233 Westgate Parkway.
An overloaded outlet is likely to blame for the fire at Westgate Village Apartments on Tuesday. Foul play is not suspected. Now, fire officials say a surge protector could have prevented that fire. Investigators say people often buy multipliers so they can plug in several devices, but they don't get a surge protector. That can trip the breaker, becoming a fire hazard.
We know we had one family, I believe, had 4 children. Another family had 5 children. Had this incident occurred at 3 o'clock in the morning when everyone's asleep, had it occurred if we had, what we refer to as latchkey kids that come home from school and there's not an adult present and they didn't know what to do, could have been significantly worse, could have ended in serious tragedy with someone being injured or even killed.
The fire displaced 4 families. The Wiregrass chapter of the American Red Cross is assisting them.
And when something like this happens, a lot of people start thinking, how can we get prepared for something like this?
Let's go to News 4's Matthew McCullum. He's live at Westgate Village Apartments with some advice for us tonight. Matthew.
Tessa, Reg, it is scary to think of those what ifs, but when the unthinkable does happen, there are ways to be prepared. It was just after 4 p.m. yesterday when firefighters arrived at Westgate Village to fight flames. No one was injured, but that's not always the case with an apartment fire.
People always need to have thought out in advance how they would escape. If the main door to the apartment is blocked, they need to know, are they going to have a way to get out of window if it's necessary? People need to know that they should crawl low to escape as well, because most of the smoke is going to rise to the top.
Tips that are helpful to have, but ones you hope you'll never need. Living in a multi-level building comes with an even bigger set of concerns.
If there is a second-story window, there are actually products sold, a ladder that you can put out the window to allow access. Of course, a fire extinguisher if it's a small isolated fire. If it's a situation where you're going to need to break a window, something heavy enough to be able to get a window open.
None of the families in Tuesday's fire had renter's insurance.
When people rent and the landlord has insurance, it's only the landlord's property that's going to be covered. Any of their personal possessions are lost.
It's an extra fee that Holmes says more than pays for itself.
Renter's insurance is not very expensive. It definitely bears weight in speaking to an insurance agent. I really hope people will think about that and invest in what they may lose if the worst should happen.
But hoping for the best for these families at this complex from here on out. Now, 4 families and at least 9 children in total are affected by this fire. The ages of those children range from 4 to 17. Reg, Tessa.
All right. Thanks a lot, Matthew, for that update. Now, those families will need clothing, including school uniforms. To help, you can stop by the Westgate Village's management office and make a donation.